where the race to win in e-commerce was trying to have the most sophisticated database and technology, and that is thankfully a thing of the past. It's very, 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 very hard to have a technological advantage that leads to a competitive edge that means a customer will buy from you. Customers don't buy from you because you have great technology. They buy from you because you've resonated with the customer and you've...
Well, the base level of technology is so high now, isn't it? That
so
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You can set up a Shopify store in 30 minutes and you can be selling, and it's pretty good. It's pretty fast. So it's not, and it like speed was always a kind of law of diminishing returns. You are listening to the Hammersley Brothers e-commerce podcast. Like what you hear and want to take the shortcut on your e-commerce growth? Join hundreds of brands that work with us and head over to joinhb.com. That's joinhb.com and see how we can help you further. Join our members and smash your targets and unlock the profits within your e-commerce site. Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Well, yes, I'm well.
Welcome to
Happy New Year.
2025. Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I was just saying, how you're in the middle of the summer and I'm in the middle of the winter, and how I look really pale, and even though I've got these lights that make you look like nice and healthy, and tanned and things.
It's
and
struggling.
Struggling, but I'm okay.
We'll fix it in
It was the
post.
first day back, actually. First day back.
Yeah, yesterday was kind of my first day back as well. It's kind of doing soft start to the year. Like, no one can book meetings with me yet, but I am working, so I don't have to get up. Because basically when I do allow people to book meetings with me, I have to get up at 6 a.m. So I've kind of edged into it a little bit.
I was so overwhelmed I had quite a few meetings today, and I had to have a sleep at 6 o'clock this afternoon.
So honestly, sometimes it's just little power nap can make all the difference. The trouble is if you oversleep, isn't it? If you go to sleep and you sleep for like an hour and a half, and then you wake up and you're like a zombie, and you're like, oh God,
yeah.
So
you've been having power
anyway,
naps
we're going to
day.
talk about our predictions in e-commerce for 2025 because it is 2025. It's here. We're in it, and there's a lot going on. There's lots of exciting things going on. Lots of different changes. I think we did talk a little bit about the market last year in terms of how it moved, and I think how it's going to move this year. Like business to consumer was, it was kind of flat at the beginning of the year, then it got better at the end of the year, like the November, and it kind of came through. We've seen that continue to happen in January. Seems to be a bit more frothy, less soft. So that's good. And I think we'll continue to see that move throughout the year. I think business to business, most people in the UK or the US kind of had like semi to flat year on year. New Zealand really struggled. New Zealand had a lot worse than the normal places. I think we'll also see that as a kind of like lag from the consumer as the consumer spending starts to come back. I think that will come back as well this year. So I think we'll start to see a better year, 2025. I think effectively what I'm seeing is 2025 will be a normal year of growth for e-commerce sites that want it, and they'll grow with it. Like last year, we saw the people who were growing were ones that had the good models, the innovation models, the disruption models, the people that were growing. I think this year we will see more of the mature businesses grow like they normally do.
Like normal.
Like a normal year. Yeah, I think we'll see that.
I agree with that. Because we were just chatting before the podcast we recorded. We just said, what shocked us, or what did we... not shocked us, but what we thought, that they did really well. Who are the people that we worked with in 2024 that went, they absolutely nailed it. And there was quite a few. And I think the big takeaways for me 2024 was the ones that had the fundamental model right, and they'd implemented it correctly, did really well. They got it all lined up, and they still really grew. The ones that, like you say, maybe some of the bigger businesses or businesses that were flat, they struggled a little bit in 2024, but like you say, they picked up at the end. So, like you say, 2025. I'm just echoing what you've just said, saying exactly the same thing back. But yeah, I think we'll see. I think I'm quite optimistic about 2025 generally.
Yeah, it feels easier. It feels easier. Like the ads are there, the sales are there, things are happening.
There's a bit of optimism.
They should. Yeah,
there's a bit of optimism in the market. I think there's a bit of I think there's an optimism in people, in what's happening in the market and in the economy as well. There's a lot of sort of doom scaremongering last year. Yeah, I think you know what I went to. I always judge how optimistic people are feeling by how busy the gym is, and I went to the gym tonight, and I couldn't get in.
Really?
I couldn't park. So I thought, oh my God, everybody's like, right, come on, we're going to nail it, going to go 2025. Yeah, I couldn't get in. So I turned around and went home and I was asleep on the sofa. And that's my stuff, my gym routine. And then I ate a bag of Skips, crisps.
Nice. Yeah, you live in the dream. You live in the dream.
And now I'm doing a podcast.
Right. So I think you're asking me what I was most interested in for 2025, and one of the things that's really interesting is the ability of small brands to create the creative with AI that is just kind of, I don't even know if democratizing is a word, but like it's opening up what was only available to the big companies. Like, so big companies could go to Italy and do a big photo shoot or a fashion show or those kind of things for the clothes. Like that was a lot of money. So you had to be a big brand and you had to be able to get big money coming back from it. Like obviously AI is doing image. So images kind of happened, but now AI is doing video and video advertising and video adverts in 2025 is going to be, it's shockingly how good it is. Like you will see someone say, oh, here's a dress that I've got, and I want you to put that on a model, attractive model. I want you to have walking in the Sahara Desert. You're like in it, like as if it's a Dior advert. And like, I think at the moment you can kind of still tell it's AI, but like it's becoming very difficult to see it. And so like we've already seen the impact of that last year where we saw, remember the drop shipping model with the people on AliExpress and that kind of like people were just Alibaba and just sending things from Alibaba, and that kind of died a death. People overdid it, and then with the creation of AI, a lot of those Chinese factories have been able to create the brands in the West and create like really good looking images for the ads and just start to sell, because that was the limiting factor. They just hadn't got the design skills and the photography and the models and all that kind of stuff. So just imagine now that with video, and so we're starting to see like the opening up of a lot of those markets that hasn't been there because you haven't been, the amount of investment to go and create a campaign, advertising campaign, is coming down. Also, we're starting to see Google ads and Facebook ads continuing to become more automated and better, and finding those kind of pockets of customers for everybody. And so like that's having big changes across the industry. So like there's someone working with us at the moment who's pulling out like about £50,000 worth of profit doing drop shipping a month. Like it's huge numbers. That's profit. That's not revenue. That's pure profit coming out of it. And they're using a drop shipping model, which was kind of something I'd kind of written off. And you wanted to talk to about drop shipping as well for mainstream brands as well. Like you've seen that.
Well, yeah, it was one of the things I was thinking about that's changed 2024 was the ability to start doing drop, because like you say, drop shipping was it was a bit of a buzzword, wasn't it? And we've all seen the ads. You too could adopt do a drop shipping model, and you could get 6. I mean, it was obviously all completely saturated, and no one could make it work because the margin wasn't there, and you're just competing. By the time you spent money on the ads, it didn't work. But what's been interesting now is there's quite a few players who've come along. Particularly if you're on Shopify, it's even easier, where you can add drop shipping categories and products. So take one of our brands, our bedding site. We could go, do you know what? We want to increase the average order value. We want to increase lifetime customer value. Let's go and add some candles and some photo frames and some vases and stuff like that. We could add dropship on for those categories in minutes. It'll automatically sync the inventory from the supplier. It will pull all the images through, the descriptions through. If an order comes through, it'll send it straight off to the supplier without me having to do anything. Split the order off, and to add, and the margins are like 35%, something like that. But if our acquisition cost is the same, if we're paying the same amount of money, or our typical margin is like 60%, let's say, if we're adding all these extra other products on, no extra cost, no inventory, stock holding, no cash flow. We can test categories really easily. To do that before these dropshipping technology came along was a nightmare. Getting stock inventories in, splitting the orders off, dealing with sending one order from one warehouse, another order. I mean, absolute nightmare, really manual and absolute pain. Now I can do it at a click of a button. And that, I think, so there's going to be a bit of a resurgence because, look, lots of businesses here, we're saying, look, you need decent margins to survive. But if you can add on these other little 30% margin products on for no extra cost of acquisition or stock holding, it's
because you don't have to put them in your Google feed, do you? You don't have to put them in your Google feed or your Facebook feed, and you just sell them to existing customers, and it can be extra revenue that's coming in. You've got, I don't know, the bedding site's got how big's the email list now? Like 100,000, so something like that?
Nearly, yeah.
Yeah. So, like you could do a special month where we do special month focusing on bedside tables or something like that. And you just do an email campaign for that month on bedside tables, and you just find a good drop ship. And when I say drop shipping, I don't necessarily mean drop shipping from China. I mean drop shipping from anywhere. There's lots of people who work with us who do some form of drop shipping, be it in the UK, straight from the US, just adding incremental orders to their business. And the technological advance, remember like way back when we were selling aftershaves, and we found a drop shipper and they were drop shipping our orders for us, but they had no live stock feed, and we had to constantly go and just find out whether that was in stock, and we'd sell it and then have to give a refund and all that stuff. And like it was like a very, even back then, it was a very easy way to kind of find out what would sell and why, and which ones we would want to stock if we did want to stock it. Ultimately, we decided not to pursue that market because the margins weren't amazing, even, and also the repeat business wasn't amazing, was it? Like you buy some aftershave, and like 3 years later, they've still got it left. So yeah, it's the technological advances in drop shipping, and also combine that with the ease of creating good adverts with AI, you're starting to see something really interesting happening in e-commerce. And the people that are going to benefit are people like Shopify and the ad platforms as well, because there's just going to be more people going after, more commerce going around and more things happening. And I think that leads me on to the other thing. I don't know how fast self-driving cars will come into the market and whether we were allowed to fully get there. But as soon as self-driving happens, screen time is going to go up. What are people going to do in the car if they're not driving? They're going to be watching YouTube, aren't they? They're going to be watching YouTube. They're going to be looking at TikTok. Screen time is going to go up. So commerce is going to increase because they're going to be buying more stuff, or they're going to be sold more stuff. So effectively, like you're going to need more products to entertain people, and more categories are going to have to be created from it. And just to keep going. Things, sorry,
I was going to say the same thing, because the same things are going to happen in like VR and headsets. Meta, you'll be able to start selling things directly through that, through Siri, and can you order this? Essentially, there's multiple places for commerce to happen. But I think, to be honest, it's probably those things will start to come in, won't they, in 2025? But it's kind of for the general e-commerce business owner who's listening to this, I would say let other people do those sort of things. Try and get, let's set up an e-commerce shop in Meta. Am I going to do that? No. Am I interested in that? I'm not at this, this stage. I'm going to let other people go and do that, and then, I'll tag on to it. But that's my opinion.
I think what is happening though is because everybody sees screen time as bad. So there obviously is downside to everybody being on their phones all the time and not talking to everybody. But on the flip side of that, the consumer is a lot more educated about a lot more products than they were ever. So whereas they would go into the supermarket and they'd buy the washing powder and not really think about it and do it. But now they're starting to be told that, oh, you shouldn't have this type of chemical in your washing powder. You shouldn't have this in your cleaning things. You shouldn't be dressing your children in this. So the consumer is a lot more, I wouldn't say educated, because sometimes the education is not the right thing. Sometimes they get a bee in a bonnet about something that's not real. But the consumer is much more aware of things. And so
you've got the choice.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, you go into the supermarket and you could only buy the certain washing powder that they stocked, the only brands, and that's all we knew. Whereas now we can go and get it from anywhere. And I think what is also happening in some industries is, I think, take the homeware industry. This is what's happened with the online homeware industry, is that if people want a dressing table, they go and buy a dressing table. If people want a bed, they go and buy a bed from different brands. They don't buy a dressing table, a bed, cushions, curtains, cutlery. They don't need to buy it from one brand. They can buy it from anywhere online. And they might often go to someone who specializes in dressing tables and someone specializing in cutlery and tableware. And that's changed. But the customer, they have so much choice now that I think...
Well, they're aware of a lot more, aren't they? They're aware of a lot more things. They're they just didn't have the time to understand what...
And your angle, sorry to interrupt you, but your angle was talking about they're aware of either effect on the environment or effect on their own health. So, for example, getting a washing powder that doesn't have a certain chemical in it, is a conversation that I've been having with all of our family. Mom, dad, our partners. This conversation's coming now. Oh, we don't buy that washing powder anymore. We're going to buy this one because, that conversation didn't happen, 5 years ago or even 2 years ago.
No, the education of the consumer is so rapid, isn't it? It's so rapid that it then allows the disruption of those brands.
Well, yeah, I love it when you finish the sentence that I'm in. It's great.
Well, there you go.
But thank you for that. Yeah, it's allowing us to be disruptive because the customer can go and buy the washing powder from one place, and they're fairy liquid from another one. They can do it, whereas you couldn't do that before. So that's what's happened. Yeah. So it's allowed us to be disruptive by going and taking. And there's lots of brands that have come in. I mean, there's one particular one I'm thinking of that started selling laundry detergent in very, very eco-friendly, very health conscious, lots of different fragrances, and they've gone in with this just selling laundry powder, but it's all natural and it's all eco-friendly. It's on a subscription model, and they're doing 10, 20 million, out of nowhere, and that is a pure online, disruptive model. I think no retailer could stock that.
The trouble is there's lots of things that have been disrupted already. Like if someone comes to me and they say, I've got a skincare product and it's got no chemicals in it, it's like, well, that's been done, isn't it? You've got to disrupt things that haven't necessarily been disrupted before. And I think people have been aware of not putting chemicals on the skin for a long time, but now they're starting to extend to shampoos and to clothing products and cleaning products and all the things that are around them and all that kind of stuff. And I think that creates a lot of new categories for small e-commerce brands to come out and just dominate with, and riding the wave of whatever people are being told on TikTok. Because TikTok is a very good bellwether of what's going on, and you can see what's trending on TikTok. And you start to see these trends around like blue glasses, like blue light glasses was one of them, was big last year. Like people were starting to go, oh, I can't watch telly in the evening without these yellow glasses on. I've got to wear these yellow glasses and I've got to wear these at certain times. And then so like all that was kind of fueled by like TikTok.
That's really interesting actually, because I think the trends, we've seen some trends this year, and when the trends come now, they really come fast. Whereas, do you remember back in the day there was a trend for copper lighting? I don't know if you remember, homeware interior copper lighting. Everyone, oh, I've got to get a copper lighting, and it kind of slowly built up, and it kind of over the few maybe 3, 4, 5 years it was copper trend lighting, and it's kind of whereas now trends come in, and because everybody shares them on TikTok and Instagram so quickly that they just go boof. And there's one, the one that I won't say who it is, but it's an American cosmetics type of cream.
Well, why not promote them? Just
okay, well, it's Lady May Tallow, and they make tallow. It's and it was almost by accident, and that just went like woof, because it's this it's been suddenly being discovered again that it's trending, because you can put tallow use it as a cosmetics face cream. And it's just gone boop, and you can see it in Google Trends. I mean, you can go and look in Google Trends, and I've been using that loads. And it just goes on. You look at the spike, and that trend, which it was sort of bubbling along for many years, and all of a sudden, it's obviously got picked up on Instagram, TikTok, and it's just gone bang, which didn't happen. Years gone by.
I think, and also your ability to see it, your ability to see the trends, like before TikTok and like even on Instagram and things like that, it was harder to see what was trending. You had to go on Google Trends and you had to kind of find it and know about it and all that kind of stuff. Like you as a consumer have got so much more data to be able to see what's happening. So like, in terms of bedding, we can see what's trending in bedding. We can see what colors are trending in bedding. We can see what the influencers are talking about. We can see what people are worried about with the type of materials being used in bedding. There's all those things there that we just didn't have before that we can react to as a market, and we can kind of drive it. And like, it's not hard to find, which is, it is fascinating, because you're starting to see all these little brands just starting up and just get onto a trend and just turn themselves into a major brand, which is great to see. So I'm just looking at some of the other things that we were talking about. So what was it? Just not. Yeah. So I think there's going to be more realization in 2025 that the paid traffic has a big effect on recurring revenue, as like obviously paid traffic we've banged on about doing new customer recruitment and all that kind of stuff, but we're starting to see that paid traffic also really affects existing revenue. Because if you think about your email list, what's a good open rate for your email list? Like 30% is a good open rate.
Well, it is 30%, but of course that's not real, because Apple classifies every email that's opened, every email that's received on an Apple device, iPhone, is classified as an open. So bear that in mind.
Yeah.
But
so you're just not getting through to your house list, are you? Really? And so
no.
you have to kind of get in front of those people, and paid advertising to existing customers is very lucrative, because they want to buy when they've got a.
What do you think?
They've got something to say.
So in 2024, we saw paid cost per click go up for Meta and Google, didn't it? I mean, it's something 30% in the year, something like that on average.
Yeah.
So why did that happen, and what's going to happen?
Well, there was a lot of inflation, wasn't there? There was a lot of inflation in the market as a whole. So in advertising is always goes up with inflation. It's one of the first things that goes up with inflation. Which is why people invest in advertising agencies during an inflation environment, because they charge a percentage fee on advertising spend, and advertising spend goes up with inflation. It's just the way it goes. So we saw a couple of things happen. So there was inflationary pressures there, but there was also increased. There was also the continuation of movement from print advertising to online. Like even, go 5 years ago, Google and Facebook were there and they were doing things, but they hadn't. These big brands hadn't really moved all their spend from traditional TV advertising.
They had a monopoly, didn't they? Online.
Yeah, and so
Google and Meta. There was like
TV advertising it's not dead, but it's gone away. I mean, I can't remember the last time I turned on a TV and turned on terrestrial TV and just watched TV with adverts coming on. I mean, obviously I've got Freeview, so they have some adverts in.
It's going to change. I think it's going to change. One of my predictions, I think, is that you'll see a lot more accessible digital advertising on your telly. And I think it's going to be much cheaper than it was.
Well, it'll be much more targeted, and you are seeing those things like, as you watch an advert on YouTube on your telly, it'll say click to see on your phone. It's linked to your phone.
This is really cool, actually. I was chatting to somebody yesterday about what the NFL Super Bowl are doing, and what they're doing is when it's, and I think the Premiership football are doing this, but when it's recorded on telly, the TV, the adverts in the stadium, they are actually digitally controlled, so that when you're watching it in a state like Washington or Tennessee or wherever you are, the ads that are displayed on those like advertising boards for physical are adapted and changed, overlaid with advertising locally. With some more relevant, and specifically for that customer. So if it's a man watching it, it might be an advert for him, or if it's a household of teenagers, it'll be relevant for them. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? That's because that was always the problem with TV advertising. It was like, one hit. Your email. You're doing a TV ad and you're selling like, nappies to a single man, who's got no kids. It's like, I don't want to see nappies. Yeah. So obviously all that's changed, but that's quite interesting. What's happening? That's all going to start to come, if it isn't already, actually.
And I think that kind of leads on to the link between the physical and online store. I think that online store with physical, we're going to see better tracking between the two. Like you said today, you went into a Popeye chicken or something like that.
I did over Christmas.
Sounds like you had a great day. You went to the gym, brilliant. You fell asleep, you came home, had a bag of crisps, and then you went to a Popeye chicken, I don't know what Popeye chicken. It sounds like deep fried chicken. No wonder you look like you're half dead.
Yeah. It's like chicken. It's like a KFC. Yeah. Anyway, I went in.
Put your cigarette down.
I went in and I had some chicken, and then I got home and I've got a VR headset. We were messing around with the kids, and I put the VR headset in, and it went, "Hey, welcome to Popeye Chicken," and it popped up with Popeye Chicken, and I went into the Popeye Chicken VR world and started chatting to somebody who was from Syria, who was giving me
There's
chicken.
A Popeye Chicken world inside the VR. Yeah. How did that even happen? Like, is that an app?
Well, it knew, in my phone obviously knew that I'd gone into a Popeye Chicken, and it then connected it through my Facebook account to my VR headset, that then realised that this is relevant, and off I was in the online world. Yeah.
See, I think my point is that we're going to see much more of an integration with the online store and the physical store, because Google knows that there's a huge amount of advertising revenue available to them if they can kind of close that loop, saying, I drove all these customers into your store, we did local advertising, they saw the product, they came into the store and they bought this, and I was responsible for that. And obviously physical stores want people to come in. What are they using at the moment? Newspaper ads, local newspaper ads and stuff like that. And, it's very difficult. So that's happening. Google's been working on that for a long time. So is Facebook. And also the trust factor, which we bang on about a lot, in a world of AI where you can't trust the images and you can't trust the videos, certain things are going to become big trust anchors. One of them is going to be third-party rated reviews, because people know that you can't fake those. So that's going to be one thing. So you like your Trustpilot reviews or your Judge Me reviews. they're going to be really important. Another thing is like if you have a physical store, like people with physical stores, they're going to go, you can't fake that. There's a physical store there. I can see it on Google Maps. I can see that people got reviews at that store. I can see it's there. So you're going to have these real non-AI points of credibility that are going to come through. And I think that we're going to start to see a lot of those matter more over time. Now, I'm not saying everybody go out there and get a physical store, but I think that a lot of people we work with do have a physical presence. But there's no real connection between the online and offline. They just kind of go, oh, well, I saw you online, and it's like the off the cuff comment, but it's not a common thing that they normally talk about.
You can't really track it,
so,
can you?
You know, it's going to be there, and it's going to get better. And I think it's going to be, the physical store is going to become much more of an asset as we go. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just looking at our notes.
Anything else? The only other comment I think generally is a continuing quieting or quietness of the techie dev voice, which has dominated our industry of e-commerce for a long, long time. Where the race to win in e-commerce was trying to have the most sophisticated database and technology, and that is thankfully a thing of the past. It's very, 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 very hard to have a technological advantage that leads to a competitive edge that means a customer will buy from you. Customers don't buy from you because you have great technology. They buy from you because you've resonated with the customer and you've...
Well, the base level of technology is so high now, isn't it? That
so
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You can set up a Shopify store in 30 minutes and you can be selling, and it's pretty good. It's pretty fast. So it's not... And it, like, speed was always a kind of law of diminishing returns. Like, obviously, if your site was taking 10 seconds to load, it's going to massively affect your conversion rate. But if you're like 3 seconds, like going to 2 seconds, it's not going to completely revolutionize your sales. And going from 2 seconds to 1 sales is probably not going to make any difference at all. So like there's a limit to, and I think there's a whole industry of tech that are kind of geared around that you go to them and say, how can we get more sales? And they go, oh, we'll make it faster. And it's a bit like with the mobile phones where they say, I need a new mobile phone. What we're going to do? Oh, let's make it smaller. And then obviously someone came along with something completely different. And I think that drum that's been banged all the time, and we won't get into headless and all that kind of stuff, but unless there's a compelling reason to do something and spend some money, a lot of the time that money's better spent elsewhere, like on the things that really matter to push the needle. And again, like if you're at McDonald's, yes, speed of acquisition of food matters. But if you're selling a house and a real estate, like getting people to buy a house more quickly in terms of like quick checkouts and stuff doesn't make sense. So you've got to work out what kind of business you are and what you're doing. And I think that 2025 will continue those kind of trends where the ability of the average person to do a lot more of their tech themselves will increase. Like, look at me. I mean, I'm not a developer, but I'm like almost a developer. Like I could, if I'd actually spent a year becoming a developer, I would be fine. But I can do ChatGPT, and I can pretty much do a bit of development with ChatGPT. It doesn't take much of an evolution of that for me to be able to be a full coder.
I'll just compound that story with all of the e-com businesses who are in our community in 2024 who did really big growth, and I'm talking went from like 2 million to 15 million to 20 in some cases, and there was probably maybe 6 that went from like 2 to 20 in 2024 e-com businesses. All of those 6 were either an individual or a couple. They were sole people. There was a man. It was either a man or a woman. It was what I'm saying is it was a small team. They got to 20 million with like a skeleton team. And you go back 10 years ago and you say we're doing 20 million, you would have a huge team, 100, 200 people. These were founders These were a husband and wife, or a guy on his own, or a woman on their own. All those 6 that got to 20 were very, very small businesses, and that just shows how accessible the technology is.
And if anything, that's accelerating, isn't it? That's accelerating. Your ability to get a product made, your ability to kind of not have to get your hands dirty with a lot of stuff is
all of this technology that surrounds the e-com, like the Shopify store or the Magento in the middle, your Google, your Meta, your email, each one of those platforms is getting better and better and better. Like the email, Klaviyo and MailChimp bringing AI in more and more and more in Google and more in Meta. It's becoming so much more. The sophistication or the accessibility of these very, very sophisticated bits of technology for the normal person is mind-blowingly accessible and easy compared to what it was. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and I think just to finish the podcast, I think that our key message is if you're somewhere and you're watching a video, or you're watching if you go to an event and someone's presenting and they make it sound hard, they're probably telling you something wrong. It's probably noise, because online retail fundamentally is very simple. And if you are of an average intelligence, you can figure out and you can do very well. Like a lot of the time, if I'm listening to, I'm obviously been doing this for a long, long time. And sorry, someone's shouting in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. And a lot of the time I'll go to an exhibition and I'll listen to someone speak and I'll be thinking, I've got no idea what this person is talking about. And I don't know how I would implement any of that. And now I've been doing it for such a long time and I've been so successful, I realized that they probably don't know what they're talking about either. And if it's not simple, if the message is not simple, they don't know. And that's what I want to focus on 2025, is keeping things simple, keeping growth simple, understanding the numbers, understanding the business, understanding the creative, and just simple growth. So,
I agree with that.
Welcome to 2025.
Let's smash it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Speak to you next time.
Thank you. Bye.